The 2025 NBA draft class is already shaping up to be a really fun one. One of the most intriguing players in this draft class is incoming freshman and North Carolina's wing, Drake Powell. Powell's listed at about 6'6", give or take an inch, depending on what site you look at, is a fantastic athlete, really good defender, intelligent passer, and has improved tremendously as a shooter. When we think about Powell playing with this North Carolina offense that likes to get out and run and push the pace and really move the ball, it's really exciting to think about what other levels his game could get to, especially playing along guys like RJ Davis, Elliot Cadeau, and Ian Jackson on the perimeter. Powell has tremendous upside. If his shot continues to improve the way it did over this last year, he could really see himself being a legitimate top 10 pick in next year's draft, if not higher. Let's dive into some of Powell's high school film, look at the shooting, how it's improved, some of the numbers across the board, how Powell has thrived as an off-ball scorer, how he elevates the play of those around him with his passing, and how he has some really high-level defensive upside. I'm Tyler Metcalf. Welcome to Film School. Let's dive in. Like most prospects, Powell's long-term ultimate upside and ceiling will likely be determined by how much the shot continues to improve. I know it feels reductive, it feels lazy to say that, but that's probably what it will likely come down to. And over the last year, we've gotten some really encouraging signs of how good of a shooter Powell can be and how much more room for improvement there still is. So over the summer with Team CP3, in the AAU circuit, he was pretty average. On all jumpers, he shot just 31.5%, off the catch, 32.9%, off the dribble, 30.4%. Not ideal, but some of the indicators, like one a lot of people tend to lean on, the free throw, he shot 80% from the line. So that's really, really encouraging. Even more encouraging is how much those numbers improved going into his high school season. Now, there was a slightly lesser level of competition in his high school ball compared to AAU, but in high school, he shot 40.9% on all jumpers, off the catch 39.8%, off the dribble 40.4%, and 40.9% from three, while still shooting 81.7% from the line. So those are really encouraging indicators of growth, of improvement. There's still a long way for him to go, where he specifically needs to kind of speed up his release. It gets a little slow, can take a little while for him to get it off. But when we think about him at North Carolina, playing off of Cadeau and Davis and Ian Jackson, he has some really fascinating shot creation ability in the mid-range, reliable knockdown shooting off the catch as that kind of second side tertiary creator and scorer. If Powell continues to see a similar growth in his jumper that he saw from AAU to high school, and we see that carry over into this season at North Carolina, he could be in for a massive, massive year. What's really fun and kind of exciting about Powell's off-ball scoring upside is how he's so much more than just a spot-up shooter, where he can really be put into motion, attack a tilting defense, knock down stuff, off movement, but then also use that off-ball movement to create for himself. And especially with Team CP3, one of their favorite actions to run him through was just this Iverson cut. So he's going to set up on the left wing here, and we're going to have a couple different examples of how they run him through this action. And he's allowed to kind of create based on whatever the defense does. In reaction. So it's a testament to his scoring versatility, but also his awareness and kind of ability to create as that secondary or tertiary offensive option, which will fit in perfectly at North Carolina alongside guys like Cadeau, Davis, and Jackson. So here, Powell's just on the left wing, gets a little kind of brush screen and just Iverson cut across the lane to the opposite side of the floor, opposite wing. As he receives this ball, or receives the pass, he sees that his defender went way under, and Powell has time to kind of face up and attack how he sees fit. So now, instead of turning this into a tough movement three or something like that, or recklessly just pulling up or impatiently pulling up, Powell turns this into an isolation possession. Let's just rewind it a little bit and just hits his defender with a nasty stutter step baseline drive. And it shows off his explosiveness, a little shake, and then that ability to explode off his drive completely erases his defender from the play. Doesn't need a screen to do it. Really important in today's NBA. Obviously, screens are incredibly prevalent, but if you can get to the rim, if you can get to the paint, if you can create your own shot without that, it makes you all that much more valuable. Beats the weak side defender to the rim, because as his teammates kind of clearing out here, there's a lot of kind of movement going on over here, and weak side defender is late. Powell explodes off 2 feet, gets a dunk through contact. Let's just go one more time. Just really appreciate the speed and the explosiveness on the stutter step and rip through. Low cut, faces up, and then boom. And he's gone. Easy. That's really explosive, fun stuff, and he makes it look incredibly easy. So again, we see Powell utilize this Iverson cut, but gets to a shot and punishes the defense in a different way. So as he cuts from this left wing to the right wing, defender stays on his back. He feels him the whole time. He knows that on the catch, his defender is going to be right on his hip. So again, faces up, and he sees that the defender's giving him middle. He doesn't want to give up that baseline drive like we just saw Powell execute in the previous clip. So instead, a little hang dribble, explodes to his left. Weak side defender does a good job of kind of helping and cutting off this drive, but Powell's size and explosiveness here allows him to quickly elevate off the floor. Solid contest by the help defender here again, but Powell's leaping ability, the way he elevates into his jumper, and his high release point make the contest ineffectual, because he's just simply shooting over the defender. Low bump, knocks it down. And this entire time, this help defender makes it way more difficult, because this little hang dribble by Powell, his defender's basically out of the play here. I know he's got a handout on him, but he never leaves the ground. He never gets a hand up to contest. This would have been an even easier shot if not for the weak side defender, but Powell's ability to explode and elevate into that shot and show off his mid-range scoring game, which really, really improved throughout the year, is on full display here. One more Iverson cut from Powell here to just further showcase his awareness, his off-ball shot creation ability, and his mid-range scoring confidence. So again, sets up on the left wing, Iverson cut to the right. As he's peeking over his shoulder to receive this pass, he sees that he can see that his defender is going over the screen, like we just saw in the previous clip, but there's a much bigger gap here that, unlike the previous clip where the defender was right on his hip, Powell knows that he has a bit of a cushion here, so he's going to immediately catch and attack baseline off the go. Defender is desperate not to give up that baseline drive, does a good job of cutting that off, but since Powell is so explosive, has great balance, great footwork, he yet again just slams on the brakes, steps back into this mid-range jumper, elevates, high release, gets way off the floor, high release, decent contest by the defender here, but again, like that previous clip, Powell's ability to elevate into this jumper, really explode off the floor, execute that high release, good mechanics. It negates the contest by the defender who gave him just too much of a cushion. Powell knocks down the step back jumper. This is NBA type of scoring stuff where no matter how the defender is treating Powell coming off this action, Powell has counters, whether it's an explosive stutter step rip through, a hang dribble into a pull up, or a step back jumper. Powell's consistently showing that he can execute and punish defenders based on however they cover him. So Powell doesn't just have to execute an Iverson cut to turn an off-ball possession into kind of an isolation or on-ball creation opportunity. So again, this is just pretty simple stuff, but Powell's not the point guard, so he's not initiating the offense. Instead, he's running off this little brush pin down screen and just initiating a post up at the elbow to try and get the ball. It's simply he feels he has a mismatch. He certainly has a size mismatch here, and he's just putting himself in position to get the ball. And as the pass comes, he does a good job of separating, just creates a little bit of a cushion, allows him to comfortably turn up and face up the defender. And now it's just a one-on-one isolation possession. And these are the types of situations that Powell regularly creates for himself based on his ability to just kind of get to different areas on the floor. And from here, we just see again that nasty stutter rip through drive, the explosiveness, it's violent, just completely dispatches his defender who's on his heels, high stance, little jab rip through, sends the defender the wrong way. He attacks to his right. The late rotation here ends up forcing the miss. Powell can't finish through the contact, misses the layup, but ref might bail him out here with a I think it's a little soft foul, but regardless, Powell's ability to just violently get to the rim like this, man, that's fun. And it creates what ends up as free throws. While Powell's scoring versatility really clearly pops, what stood out to the most for me was his playmaking ability. And not from a sense of, he can be a primary creator and an offensive engine and all of that kind of stuff, but more so as a complementary player, as someone who can parlay his off-ball movement and his individual shot creation into playmaking and creating for others. So here we can see how Powell's kind of just combines his off-ball movement into his scoring gravity and playmaking vision. So just simple run off a little screen into a handoff, forces a bit of defensive miscommunication here, a little chaos as Powell's man initially goes under the screen. That's a huge gap. So the drop defender on the handoff here sees that his teammate's kind of out of the play, so he steps up. Powell sees that. Little shot fake gets him in the air, attacks the high foot, forces yet again another switch from the help defender, and now Powell knows that he's attracted 2 out of the 3 defenders in that initial set. He has 4 defenders on the left side of the court over here and a 2v1 situation on this weak side. He knows his center's going to roll to the rim while his teammate flares out to the corner, so he's just reading this lone defender on the weak side. He elevates just to improve his passing angle and make sure that he doesn't miss something necessarily or allow the defender to get a random hand on it to deflect it. Sees that the weak side defender did the right thing and stayed at the rim, makes a perfect skip pass to his teammate. That shot has to go up. It's got to go up at UNC. It's definitely going up. In the NBA, it's for sure going up, but his teammate takes a little shot fake, attacks the closeout, draws the defender, a little bounce pass on the roll, misses it. They call a foul. But none of this, nothing that Powell does here shows up in the stat sheet, which is a shame. But this type of passing completely carved the defense up. It completely exposed them, forced their wild rotations, and set up his teammate for an eventually really good look. None of this happens without that initial pass from Powell. Most of Powell's playmaking opportunities and flashes in the future will likely come as that kind of off-ball mover, off-ball scorer, that second side creator, but that doesn't mean that he's totally unfamiliar with on-ball creation in his own right. He has shown plenty of flashes of creating out of isolation, out of the pick and roll, and in transition, as we'll see going forward here. So we've seen Powell's ability to get to the rim and that explosiveness that he attacks the lane with, that change of pace dribbling, those hang dribbles, the crossovers, the explosive rip throughs, the explosive drives, all of that creates or makes him such a versatile scorer, but it also creates a lot of playmaking opportunities for him. So as we see here, a little hang dribble, defender does a good job of kind of bodying him up, cutting off that drive. Powell just fakes like he's turning back to the middle of the floor here, right there, and explodes baseline, which attracts the attention of both defenders. As Powell drives here, he knows that he's in a bad position. He can't really get a shot up. He has both defenders tight on him, but he knows that since he has two defenders on him, that his teammate rolling into the middle or rolling to the rim here should be open. He does a really good job of elongating those strides and changing up his pace. Let's try and watch that through just a little smoother so we can really see that change of pace from him, that patience. Changes the angle of his pass, shovels it to his teammate. Can't get the bucket, unfortunately, but this display of patience and change of pace dribbling from last summer, that's really fun stuff with Powell going forward. On this one, we can see how Powell can set up as that second side creator and just kind of naturally run into a pick and roll and just make a simple decision. Nothing here is overtly manipulative or high level stuff, but it's the right play. And he does a really good job of kind of creating that open corner three for Isaiah Evans. So as Powell tends to do, set up on the left wing here, and teammate is just going to kind of hand it off, natural flow of the offense, and Powell just naturally flows into a pick and roll here. Defenders playing at the level, little hesitation, sends the drop defender back, and Powell notices that the net, I guess kind of now, since he's driving that direction, strong side corner defender has collapsed into the middle of the floor to take away the roller. Let's just back it up here so we can see that movement a little more and how that kind of creates from this initial handoff into the left hand pick and roll. But so right now that weak side defender's in the right spot, he's doing what he should be, but now that this turns into basically a middle pick and roll, he's in a tough position because he's torn between, does he collapse to the roller, does he tag him there, or does he retreat a little more towards the corner shooter to try and take away that pass. So as Powell gets rid of that drop defender with the hesitation and attacks downhill before his defender can get back rim side, he sees that the help defender has stayed in the paint. So he attacks one more dribble to get rid of this weak side defender and improve that passing angle. Wide open passing lane, kicks it out to Evans. Great location, knockdown three. Easy read, nothing overly complicated, but from a second side creator, someone who's going to be a secondary, tertiary creator, it's just really proper decision making and processing. So we've seen Powell utilize his athleticism and explosiveness to create for others attacking downhill, but he's also able to do it from a defensive rebounding into a kind of grab and go transition situations as well. So from here, Powell kind of shows off his athleticism, grabs a relatively uncontested defensive rebound, avoids the little poke by the opposition, and immediately pushes in transition. As he's crossing half court, he knows that this defender's basically behind the ball here, so he's going to attack the lane. As he slows down a little bit, it allows that trailing defender to recover, but his back is to the play, and he's basically setting a pick for Powell here. Powell attacks downhill, forces the rotation from, well, not even rotation, but forces that initial recovering defender to stay in the lane probably longer than he wants to. Powell gets both feet in the lane, gets this defender to fully commit to trying to take a charge, and just makes this simple play yet again. Kicks out to his teammate, wide open in the corner. Can't knock it down, unfortunately, but Powell's ability to rebound, grab, go, and then not just look for his own shot, but then look for others, that's going to fit in beautifully in North Carolina's offense. What's really fun is when Powell puts all of that together. The athleticism, the rebounding, the off-ball scoring, the playmaking vision. That's where Powell's at his best and where his fit with North Carolina and their high-tempo offense really begins to pop. So from here, Powell's under the rim here, does a good job boxing out, gets the rebound, and immediately pushes. As he pushes in transition here, he knows that 2 defenders are behind him, and the 3 recovering defenders are below the free throw line, and he just simply kicks out to his teammate on the wing. Once the shot doesn't immediately go up, Powell immediately pops back out to the perimeter, relocates, tries to provide that proper spacing and a potential outlet for his teammate in the post here. Since this is a mismatch in the post, size-wise, the recovering center gets back into the paint. As Powell pops out, no one goes with him. Powell's teammate does a great job of recognizing it. He takes a quick peek down, make sure that he's behind the line, catches, great mechanics, rises up, knocks down the 3. But all of this, I know it may seem simple, but Powell's ability to combine the rebounding into playmaking, into off-ball movement, into the really improved shooting, it's tough, especially for guys at this age. We don't typically see it. Once they get into college, we see it a little more, and obviously even more in the pros. But the fact that Powell's already doing this consistently in high school last summer, it's fun, and it's really exciting for what that can continue to grow into, especially in that high-tempo North Carolina offense. Powell's size and athleticism gives him a ton of versatility and upside as a scorer and playmaker and creator on the offensive end, but it also makes him a really high-level defender with a ton of upside. So, yes, I know starting this off with a clip where his man scores might not be the most ideal, but I don't really care about the end result, especially in a high school setting where things get so chaotic. What I care about is Powell's process here. How does he defend this play and the fundamentals that go into it? So, and from that standpoint, they're fantastic. So from here, Powell does a great job of initially showing on the drive. We saw a little earlier how he kind of drove middle here, and the help defender had both feet in the paint and completely freed up that corner shooter. Powell here does a good job of showing, but keeping both feet out of the paint, so he has plenty of room and time to recover. So he shows, but he doesn't overcommit, and that allows him to recover out here, and he closes out under control. Great low stance, wide base, he's on balance, so as this ball handler attacks his high foot, he's able to quickly flip his hips and really not give up any ground. He stays attached, does a great job of sliding his feet here. They never cross. He's always on balance. This is textbook on-ball defending. It's absolutely perfect. Absorbs the contact in his chest, doesn't get moved at all, has the hand up the entire time, gets a tough contest on, and the ball just falls in. It's an unfortunate result because everything Powell does here is textbook defending and stuff that Hubert Davis is going to adore next season. So since high school basketball is a little more chaotic, it was really Powell's defensive playmaking that constantly popped in all of his games. And that's where his athleticism and explosiveness really came to fruition, but it also showcased his awareness and his timing and his ability to be a really high-level weak side defender. So on this play, Team CP3 is set up in the zone, a little 2-3 action. I believe this is Will Riley, pops to the middle of the floor, and that forces the middle defender to step up. Powell does a good job here of timing this rotation perfectly. As Riley turns over his shoulder, all he sees is that the rim protector is on his hip and that his teammate is wide open under the hoop. Riley makes the right read here, but Powell covers so much ground in the blink of an eye that he's able to pick that pass off with ease, and now Team CP3 is running out in transition going the other way. Now, it would be great if Powell was there a little earlier, because a little lob here probably results in 2 points. Powell's a little late, but it's a testament to his explosiveness and his ability to cover a ton of ground in the blink of an eye. So very similar situation as the last clip, but this time we see, and the next couple, we'll see Powell act as a really fun kind of weak side and help side rim protector. So in transition, shot goes up, and Uplay gets the offensive rebound here, And Powell's not really doing anything. He's just kind of checked out, not totally uncommon, especially in a high school game. So not an indictment. What's fun here, though, is that the man who's on the opposite block here is wide open, and Powell's out by the corner three-point line. As that pass comes, Powell explodes down, does a great job of timing his jump perfectly. He has to fully commit to it. A simple shot fake probably gets rid of Powell, but Powell's so far out of the play once this pass is made that why would this guy expect Powell to be on his back in the blink of an eye? But he is. So Powell does a great job exploding to the rim, locates the ball, doesn't foul, and takes away what should have been an easy 2 points. It would be great if he is there right away, sure, but it's an AAU game, and it's more so to showcase Powell's shot blocking ability, his ball location ability, and his explosiveness. So Powell regularly jumped tip for his teams, and plays like this make it kind of obvious why. So as this play sets up, Powell's on the weak side, his man's in the opposite wing, opposite corner, and as the ball swings here, no one's down here. It'd be great, and that's something he's going to need to clean up, where Powell needs to be rotating down immediately. If this guy would have had his head up, that should be an easy pass that should lead to 2 points, but it doesn't, alas, and we're rewarded with Powell having an insane block. So as the ball handler kind of does this thing, nice little showcase of handles, still missing his guy who's wide open under the rim. Powell has finally made his way at least into the lane to make this rotation, and he shows off his patience here. As the ball handler elevates, Powell does a great job of just kind of staying middle, not overly committing either way, and the ball handler goes for the reverse. But since Powell stayed vertical and stayed in the middle, it allowed him to react to either side of the rim that the ball handler was going to go to. He times his block perfectly, smothers it with both hands, and forces a miss. So one more time, explosiveness, timing, patience, really just perfect weak side rim protection here from Powell, obviously excluding the lateness on the rotation. Similar to being a really impressive weak side rim protector, Powell was also a menace at chase down blocks and protecting the rim in transition as well. So as New Heights kind of pushes in transition here, great hit ahead, and ball handler looks like he should have a layup here, maybe contested, anticipating some contact, potentially a foul, maybe, hey, if things go right here, you got a 3-point play. Drake Powell has other ideas as he loads up. I mean, God, his arms look incredibly long here, but loads up, times his jump to perfection, times it perfectly with the ball handler. They elevate together, and Powell's just bigger. He's more explosive, and he's longer. So he's pinning this ball with both hands on the backboard at the top of the square here. That's insane. This is, I'm sorry, this is just really fun. And this is stuff that Powell did throughout the season. And in that kind of chaotic, high-pace environment of college basketball, this is the type of stuff that Powell can do really consistently. And it's one of the things that makes him a little more malleable in terms of a college setting where he can play the 2 on offense and he can scale up to playing the 4 on defense because of his size, because of his physicality, because of his shot blocking ability, that explosiveness, and that timing and the verticality. He has that ability to be the 4-man. He can play as that weak side rim protector, and it's all because of how, not to say perfect, but almost how perfect his fundamentals are. Sure, he needs to clean up some of the timing on the rotations, but when you're as explosive as he is, and as long as he is, and as strong as he is, you're afforded a slightly bigger window of error. The 2025 NBA draft is full of some really big names, but for some reason, Drake Powell still rarely gets mentioned with them. Now, by no means is Powell an unknown. He's headed to North Carolina and was a McDonald's All-American. People know who he is because he's really stinking good. he's still rarely mentioned with guys in that top 10, let alone top 5, rarely even top 15 from what I've been seeing. And I think that's a mistake. If Powell experiences any semblance of the improvement that we saw from him over just last year and experiences that same type of growth as a freshman at North Carolina, he could be one of the best players in this draft. Powell has tremendous athletic tools. He's really long. He has prototypical shooting guard, small forward size for an NBA player. His ability to score on ball, off ball, and in all 3 levels of the floor makes him a really intriguing talent. He's got a ton of upside, and at North Carolina, he's going to be asked to do a lot of the little things. His level of responsibility will likely be lower simply because of guys like Ian Jackson, Elliot Cadeau, and RJ Davis. But that doesn't mean he's not going to have a ton of opportunity. If Powell can consistently execute as an off-ball scorer while also displaying some secondary and tertiary playmaking and shot creation abilities, his draft stock is going to skyrocket. And that's not even getting to the defensive end of the floor. He's a big-time shot blocker, big-time defensive playmaker, and has exquisite fundamentals on ball. With a lesser offensive role, Powell could even pop even more on the defensive end. He has all the tools to be a top 10 lock in the 2025 NBA draft, but obviously we still need to see that shot continue to improve. If it does and continues as it did throughout his senior year in high school, and those free throw numbers continue to be excellent like they were in high school, Powell could be in for a massive year and be one of the main reasons why this UNC team is so stinking fun.